So we have to speak to Edwards, apparently.
Got a moment, Edwards?
Of course. What's on your mind?
A lot, I'm thinking.
So, what was found at the crime scene?
A dead body.
Duh.
Edwards.
Hey, just trying to lighten the mood a bit.
It worked for
Anyway,
me.
there was also the word justice written in blood, as you can see on the floor there.
You know, Miles, you've been coming in here a lot lately, but you've never looked quite this glum. What's going on?
I've bungled things pretty badly at home. Been staying with a friend the past couple of weeks.
I see. What happened?
I haven't been honest with my wife. Coming here and drowning my sorrows hasn't really helped, oddly enough.
Oddly enough.
And yet, it's all I can do to keep from going crazy.
You know, Miles, I've seen and heard a lot of things over the years. Some of the stories would turn your hair white. But through it all, I've come to learn one thing. It's usually not too late to make things better, but only if you let yourself try.
Thank you for the advice, Patrick.
I agree with
All
that.
I can do is give it, Miles. Whether you choose to take it or not is entirely up to you. Now, would you like another gin?
No, thank you. This time I really do need to be on my way.
Yeah, let's go to Adelaide, see if we can make it better. Although, how drunk are we?
I should go and see how my wife is doing.
I see. Well, have a good night, Miles. And good luck to you.
Let's try and work it out. Or is she with someone else?
Who in the ether?
Was this a mistake, maybe?
Miles? This is a surprise.
I've been an idiot. I've decided to forgive you. I'll say this.
Addie, it's so good to see you. I've been such an idiot lately.
Well, I'm glad you can admit to it. Would you like to come in?
Very much.
Was there something you wanted to talk about?
I think you should. How you were doing, wanted to apologize. I wanted to find out the truth. I don't know if that's smart though. Why don't we start with this?
I wanted to make amends for how I acted when we last spoke. I'm sorry I put you through that. I was an absolute ratbag, and I hope you can forgive me.
I still don't appreciate you keeping things from me. Where have you been all this time, anyway?
Upton's been letting me stay with her.
Better than sleeping under a bridge, I suppose.
Yes, although I don't know how much longer I can impose on her generosity.
Are you asking me to let you come back here?
Yeah, and I think it's time I finally told you the truth. I've missed you dearly, haven't you missed me? No, I just wanted to come by and visit for a bit. I'll tell her the truth.
Yes, but I know I need to earn it. That's why I'm finally going to tell you the truth.
Miles, what are you doing? You know this is a terrible idea.
Is
The
it?
truth?
About why I've been acting the way I have been since Bill died.
Well, go on. I'm listening.
Don't do it, Miles. You know it's a one-way ticket to Riverview if you do.
He says don't do it, but I kinda wanna. And did I save? Of course I did not. So if I mess up, I'll have to replay everything again. This is super annoying. I'll do it and see what happens.
I've been hearing Bill's voice ever since he died.
Fordham, what is wrong with you?
His voice?
I can't believe this! You've just destroyed your life! I hope you realize that!
Yes, in my head, at all hours. That's why I was taking the soporific. It was the only way to keep him quiet. Or so I thought. Turns out that alcohol has the same effect.
What does he say to you?
The type of things he'd say when he was alive. Snarky comments, inappropriate jokes. Mainly he nags me to find the flower shop burglar. He thinks doing that will let him find peace and move on.
I see.
I told you you'd think I was crazy.
Don't be ridiculous, Miles. It's nothing like that. It's just, I wish you had told me sooner is all.
I know, but I was afraid.
Well, I'm glad you finally trusted me. You know, you could have all along.
So, you're all right with it?
It is quite a lot to take in. I think I'll need some time to mull it over. But what matters now is that we can work through this together.
I understand. Well, I should probably go. It was lovely to see you again, Addie.
Lovely to see you too, Miles.
Perhaps I'll stop by again next week?
Or sooner, if you'd like.
Sure, like the men in white coats aren't gonna have you taken away by then.
Right. I'll see myself out then.
Good night, Miles.
Would she do that to me? I doubt she would. I think she's truly happy that I told her. Right? Or not? I don't know. Does she think I'm lying still?
Fordham, wake up.
Huh? He just leapt over the side. I don't... Oh, Upton. What's going on?
Goodness, Fordham. You look terrible. Is everything all right?
Just had some trouble sleeping. More than usual.
Well, I hope you've rested enough, because I've got something very important to show you.
Oh, wonderful. If we're sharing information now, are you gonna tell Upton about me as well?
What is it?
There's been a murder.
And there's murder every day. Is anything special about this one? Yeah, let's say that.
I
Don't be
assume this
snarky.
one is special somehow, or you wouldn't be bringing it to me.
I thought that great detectives never assumed.
There are exceptions to every rule.
Anyway, you're right. The victim in question is a member of Parliament, a man named Percival McDonough, to be precise. But this is the real corker. The murder is clearly
Finally.
the work of the Justice Killer.
I thought that my previous case was the Justice Killer, but we finally get it. Yes. The Justice Killer, what are you talking about? You mean that mass murderer? Yeah, we've been reading about it every day. How could you not know?
The Justice Killer. Is that the mass murderer I've been hearing about?
The very same.
Why Justice Killer, though?
It's part of his modus operandi. He kills his victims with a single gunshot to the head, then writes the word justice somewhere in the room with the victim's blood.
Talk about melodramatic.
The police are stumped. This is the killer's 5th victim, and there isn't a single lead.
Not one?
So you want me to investigate?
Not just yet. First, I need you to look at these sketches.
Are these crime scene sketches? Are you allowed to have these? Let's not ask that, because I want to look at them.
You took crime scene sketches from the department?
Of course not. I made copies with the station's Pharaoh duplicator. These
Thinks she
killers need
means
to
like a copy
stop,
machine.
and I believe you can succeed where the department has so far failed.
So, what am I looking for?
The police went over each crime scene with a fine-toothed comb and turned up practically no useful physical evidence. I want a second opinion from you. If you can find some sort of link between them, it might be possible to track this monster down.
Alright, let's see what we can see. Maybe there's something that Snelling's finest overlooked.
Oh, there are a lot.
Here are the 4 sketches. Have a look at them and see if you notice anything that might help us find this maniac.
Alright, I will. I don't know if I can, though. Justice?
What's the point? It's not like you're actually going to be able to investigate this case.
You don't know that.
If only you hadn't told Adelaide about me, I might share my thoughts with you. As it is, you're on your own.
Really? Is that the consequence of my choice?
Whoever drew this was a hack. That looks more like a piece of toast than a flower.
But there is a flower there. Interesting.
Maybe you can write a song about how you'll soon be in. I'm sure this is terribly relevant, but I've got nothing to say about it. I don't feel like looking at dead bodies right now. Is there some... Oh, were you hoping for some witty insight? Shame.
Oh, really? He's not gonna say anything. Alright. That sucks. But there are flowers everywhere.
I'm really not in the mood to be analyzing... Yeah, he's dead. Big deal. Oh.
No, he's not gonna help me. No. Alright.
Maybe you should write crazy over your bed. Wait, what's that? I see an important clue. Nah, just kidding.
But there's a flower everywhere.
Boring.
Interesting.
Oh,
Exactly.
what? You actually found something without my help? I'm shocked.
You're kinda annoying. If you're not gonna help me, then just say nothing. Let's say that to her about
Upton?
the flowers.
What is it, Fordham?
About those crime scene sketches.
Yes?
I think I found a connection.
I knew you would. What is it?
flowers at each scene.
There's a single flower at each crime scene. They look deliberately placed.
There is? Let me have a look. You're right. 1 lily at each scene.
Wait, what did you say?
These flowers, they're lilies. Easter lilies, I think.
I don't believe it.
Upton, this is incredible. This is the lead I've been searching for.
It
What?
is.
You mean for another case?
Yeah, Bill.
The flower shop burglar. He was stealing Easter lilies. And I distinctly remember him saying something about his desire to uphold justice. At the time, I thought it was just the rambling of a lunatic, but now it seems so obvious.
So the flower shop burglar is the justice killer?
It might
It
be.
seems too much of a coincidence otherwise.
Well, then that's wonderful. You can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Excellent work, Fordham. I knew you could do it.
Objective added. Right, so let's speak some more about our guy.
What exactly are the details regarding this justice killer?
The killings began a few months ago, and so far he's claimed 5 victims. The department wanted to keep this information out of the public eye to prevent a panic, but word has gotten out.
Yeah, they
On the
didn't.
bright side, it makes your involvement in the case much less suspicious.
It does.
What can you tell me about the previous victims?
4 men from Chumley: Hannibal Kirkland, Reggie Willingham, Ennis Bowditch, and Burley Cause. No known connection between any of them aside from the borough they lived in. I have copies of the police reports from each of the crime scenes. Go ahead and take them.
Thank you, Upton.
Yeah, that is helpful. Documents added. I'll read those in a bit. And an objective.
What are the details regarding the killer's latest victim?
As I mentioned, the victim is Percival McDonough, a member of parliament. He was found this morning by his secretary in his office. I expect the official investigation is still underway.
So the killer managed to get into the Houses of Parliament. No easy feat.
You can say that again. It's the killer's first high-profile victim. It means he's getting bolder.
I suppose I'll have to drop by and see for myself.
Objective, not a location. Let's ask about her just to be nice.
Everything all right with you?
Oh, I'm getting by. I expect things go back to normal once this killer is caught.
I haven't worn out my welcome here yet, have I?
No, you're still tolerable.
Tolerable.
But when was the last time you washed your hair?
You're starting to sound like Adelaide. I should get back to it.
Not a bad idea.
Or maybe take a shower if everybody's complaining.
Right. I think I have enough information to get started. I think I'll begin with...
Odd. I wasn't expecting company.
Am I really gonna get locked up?
Chief Snelling?
Uh-oh.
Upton, we need to talk. Fordham, I should have guessed I'd find you here.
Chief Snelling, what a pleasant surprise. You're the last person I expected to see. Shouldn't you be out trying to catch the justice killer? Let's say this.
Chief Snelling, aren't you supposed to be out trying to catch the justice killer?
Appropriate that you should bring that up, Fordham. That's precisely why I'm here.
Oops, and the drawings are still there.
Those are some rather interesting decorations. Would either of you care to explain how they got here?
And once again, the jig is up. I hope you can talk your way out of this one, too.
I took the sketch from the police by myself. Asked Upton to get the sketch for me. I told Upton it was wrong to take the sketch. Well, this is definitely not the right answer. Let's say I did this, but I don't know. Is he gonna lock me up? She'll get in trouble, or I will. This is a crime if I did it myself. I'll say this.
I asked Upton to get me the duplicates of the sketches. This was my doing.
Even if that were the case, Upton still broke the law by aiding you.
How did you find out about the copies?
The Ferroduplicator makes a report of every employee who uses it, as well as what was copied. A rather useful feature for instances such as these. Wouldn't you agree?
These gadgets are gonna be the undoing of us all.
In any case, I did some digging and discovered some intriguing information. Upton, why have you been passing on classified police information to Mr. Fordham?
Because he's the best detective you ever had on the force, and you know it.
Is that right? Personally, I don't consider getting your partner killed the mark of a great detective. But what's done is done. Constance Upton, your employment with the New Britannia Police Department is hereby terminated.
Oops.
But
I should add that it's only because of your 25 years of dedicated service that I'm not pressing charges against you. But as for you, Fordham, I have enough evidence to place you under arrest for obstruction of justice and interfering with police investigations. Do you have
Interfering?
anything to say in your defense before I take you in for questioning?
Yeah, solved all your cases. You couldn't find anyone. I did everything. This is all Upton's fault. I know who the Justice Killer is. Let's say this.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. I know who the Justice Killer is.
Fordham, if this is your idea of a diversion...
It's true. I found a link in the sketches of the crime scenes.
All right, let's hear it then. What do you think you found?
I'll tell you if you promise to let me take the case.
Out of the question, Fordham. This is a police matter.
And the police haven't made progress in months. Fordham figured it out in a matter of minutes. Admit it, Snelling. Fordham is your best shot at finding the killer. Are you
Yeah,
gonna
don't
let
be
your
arrogant.
personal differences put the people of this city in danger?
Exactly.
Fine. I'll let you continue to operate as an assistant in this case, if you have actually found something of value. Now, what is this link?
He leaves a single Easter lily at each crime scene. The same type of flowers the burglar and the chum was stealing.
I see. A tenuous link, but plausible. I'll give you until tomorrow afternoon. If you haven't come up with anything, I'm throwing you in jail.
Sounds fair to me.
And
That's it?
don't get any clever ideas about leaving town, either.
Come now, would I do something like that?
Fordham, it seems there's no telling what you might do. I'm probably a fool for not clapping you in irons right here and now. When you have something to report, come find me in my office. Don't make me regret this.
Is Upton still fired though? I think she might be.
Well, that went better than I expected.
It did?
Except you're still fired. I didn't have a chance to get him to change his mind.
We'll worry about that after you catch the killer. In the meantime, I could use a drink. I'll see you later, Fordham.
I would probably do the same, honestly.
Well, better get to work then. Clock is ticking.
Or at least do something relaxing, if she's fired anyway. Right, so I have until tomorrow afternoon to find the killer. How am I gonna do that? I don't know, because normally Upton helps me. I can also read the newspaper. Let's do that. So this is all new. This is the mass murder. This is the case I'm looking into right now. The Justice Killer. This is the case we just did. And the spiritualist arrested for fraud. Wait, that's our cult leader. Let's start with this. Arrest made in tragic election night murder. I know this is kinda doesn't make sense because normally you read from left to right, but I tend to do things my way, so. Ronan Lespay, an employee of the Gripsholm taxidermy shop, was murdered outside the Silent Raven pub in Chumley on election night. I think I'm finally saying it right. According to New Britain Police, Britannia, the person responsible was Tom Puffin, choir master at St. Denis Cathedral. According to an unconfirmed source, Puffin mistook Lespay for his nephew, whom he had planned on killing, and accidentally murdered Mr. Lespay instead. He was allegedly under the influence of opium. Puffin was arrested on the charge of murder in the second degree and is set to stand trial in November. Lespay was described by his sister as full of life and an avid fan of books and travel, although Mr. Lespay himself had apparently never left Vespuccia. Contributions to pay for Mr. Lespay's funeral expenses are being accepted. So Angela Maxwell is the lady with all the bugs that we keep asking questions about the spirit world. The leader of a spiritualist group in Gascon, known as the Spectre Society, was arrested yesterday on charges of fraud after an extensive undercover operation by the New Britannia police discovered that she was exploiting her clients and robbing them of their money. Detective Lester Barnett attended several meetings under an assumed name, during which he observed Miss Maxwell's ruse. She would claim a client was cursed, then offer healing services for a fee. The clients would then pay exorbitant amounts of money over a period of time to be cured. A representative of the New Britannia police offered this warning. We urge the public to be extremely wary of anyone claiming to be able to communicate with spirits or deceased loved ones. In reality, they often just prey on the grief-stricken and vulnerable. Let's start with do this one, Edward, and we'll end with the case we're currently trying to solve, if we can. Edward under fire for alleged cooping scheme. Oh, that's also in our previous case. More controversy has emerged after Hart Leroy's landslide victory against Herbert Edward, as accusations of a pro-Edward cooping scheme have emerged. Allegedly, Edward's campaign hired men to find unsuspecting victims, ply them with alcohol, and then force them to vote multiple times in disguise in order to increase Edward's chances of re-election. The victims were kept in a small room referred to as a coop. Oh, now I get it, a chicken coop. That's what they mean. And forced to change clothes several times in order to vote repeatedly. Once they served their purpose, victims were left in back alleys around the city, dazed and confused. Well, to be fair, he kinda killed that man, because if that Ronan wasn't dazed and confused, he probably wouldn't have been shot, would he? He would have ran or something. Despite the efforts, it was not enough to secure Edward's victory. The information comes from the alleged leader of a cooking gang who agreed to talk. Who would that be, I wonder? Citizens fear mass murderer. The general mood around New Britannia is one of caution and fear, especially in Chumley. 4 victims have so far been claimed by the so-called Justice Killer, with no apparent motive or link between them. That's what makes it so frightening. Well, weren't they all men? Said Chumley resident Simon Banks. You've no idea who's going to be next. It's gotten to the point where I stopped sweeping chimneys before sundown. When reached for comment, the New Britannia police offered no new information, but encouraged citizens to remain vigilant and avoid answering their doors for strangers. Rumors of a nightly curfew have been swirling, but no confirmation has been given. Anyone with information regarding the identity of the killer is strongly encouraged to contact the New Britannia police. Right.
What a handsome couple.
Right, already did this, looked at this. I think we can look at the pictures again, but we don't really need to.
You have to wonder what the mean. Not a very pretty way to go out. I wonder if he was trying to get something from that safe.
So he's commenting now.
The flower certainly brings...
Wait, why are you commenting now and not before?
At least this poor slob got to die in bed. The Justice Killer sure is thorough, you have to give him that. Pretty flower, but it... Must have been a powerful shot to knock him backwards like that. Bloody writing. This killer is one sick individual. That flower adds a nice touch to an otherwise drab...
Alright, so it wasn't really useful as commentary to begin with.
Oh, that's not a... Way to ruin a perfectly good wall. Interesting plate.
Yeah, so we didn't really miss anything by that, so...
Mostly cookbooks.
So I don't think it really matters if we told Adelaide or not. Because he's back to normal, apparently. So we can go to the apartment where we just were, we can go to the police station, but that is only to tell our Chief Snelling if we have a new lead. And this is where the body is, so this is where we probably should go first, right? I think what we should do is check out the body. Oh.
Fordham, what brings you to this delightful spectacle?
Delightful.
Hello, Edwards. I'm investigating the Justice Killer. I believe I've got a very promising lead.
That we do.
I heard an officer mention new orders from Snelling, but I thought he was just pulling my leg. Feel free to have a look around. I'm just writing up the notes from my initial examination of the body, so I'll be happy to share my findings.
Good. I'll just get started then.
Well, at least he's friendly to me. Also, my lead contains a flower at the crime scene, but I don't see one.
Looks pretty fresh. I wonder what the killer uses to write with.
With? Well, blood.
Looks pretty
But do you mean like his finger or something? Don't walk over it.
Nothing but a bunch of boring documents. You'd think he could have at least been considerate enough to keep something scandalous in here.
Priorities.
These appear to be books on cryptography. I suppose everyone needs a hobby.
Is this the same?
History books and political theory. I might die of boredom. Again.
Is this him?
Leave it to a politician to hang a portrait of himself in his own office.
It doesn't really look alike, does he?
The former Percival McDonough. Being a good politician.
What do you mean by that? Calendar. There's nothing on here.
Nothing has been written in yet for next month. Curious.
But something has been torn off.
Odd. The page for this month has been torn out. You suppose Edwards might know anything about that?
Oh, we should ask him. Alright. What else? Papers on the floor, but we can't do anything with those.
No signs of forced entry that I can see. The murderer didn't come in through this window.
Or maybe he knew him. This is exit, no. So I think I've seen everything. I wanted to look at the body, but the game
The
doesn't
former
do that. Just tells me that this is him. So we have to speak to Edwards, apparently.
Got a moment, Edwards?
Of course. What's on your mind?
A lot, I'm thinking. Well, not as much as I thought, but enough.
So, what was found at the crime scene?
A dead body.
Duh.
Edwards.
Hey, Just trying to lighten the mood a bit.
It worked on
Anyway,
me.
there was also the word justice written in blood, as you can see on the floor there.
Is that all?
Was that flower?
What more do you need? All the pieces are in place. This is the work of the justice killer.
Maybe it's not, because if there isn't a flower, maybe it's a copycat.
Did you find an Easter lily anywhere?
An Easter lily?
Guess not.
Yes. The Justice Killer leaves one at every crime scene.
Is that right? I never noticed.
Neither did anyone else, apparently.
So how does leaving a lily at the scene of the crime figure into all of this?
I'm still trying to figure that out, but I think it might be important to understanding his motive.
If it sure is.
Well, be sure to let me know if you do figure it out. The thought process of killers is a twisted, curious thing.
Yeah, I thought you might find it interesting. So you didn't find one, so maybe this isn't the Justice Killer at all.
What's your take on this whole Justice Killer situation?
It's giving me a lot of extra work. let me
Extra
tell you.
work.
We haven't had a serial murderer in a long time. Not since that fellow who was poisoning people about 10 years ago.
Ah, yes. The Gascon Ghoul.
Ghoul.
Now, there was a case.
Any theories or insights regarding the killer's motive or identity?
That's not really my specialty. If you want to get into that psychology stuff, you're better off talking to someone like Snelling.
Really, would he know that? It kind of seems like a dum-dum to me, but I guess maybe he does know something.
What did your examination of the body turn up?
Apparent cause of death was a single gunshot to the head, exactly like all the other victims. The bullet is still lodged in his brain. I'll remove it once I transport the body back to the mortuary.
Anything else?
No personal effects of note, just a folded up piece of paper in his breast pocket.
What was on it?
It's blank, so the police
Oh.
weren't interested. I assume you aren't either.
Well, I am.
Never assume, Edwards. I'll take it if you don't mind.
Be my guest.
Could be a hidden code or something. Don't you need to rub lemon on it, or is it written in lemon and you need to heat it up, something like that?
Did the police manage to learn anything during their investigation?
Not much beyond what I've already told you. I think they were planning on speaking to the victim's wife, though.
Oh, I want to.
Did you get the address?
I did, as a matter of fact. 1820 Kent Place.
Now we get to deal with the grieving widow. Hopefully the officers who delivered the news got the worst of it.
Probably not if you're telling me that. I can ask about him, but why not? It's fun.
Does it feel good to be out of the
Does
office?
it feel good?
As long as I have the chance to examine a body and learn something in the process, I don't care where I am.
I believe that.
Though I do admit a preference to working in my own environment. Fieldwork can be a bit uncertain. There's so much more potential for contamination, especially with those clumsy officers trouncing about groping everything.
I get that.
Present company excluded, of course.
Thank you. Well, I did walk all over the written word in blood, but anyway.
Edwards, did you notice McDonough's desk calendar?
I did. This month has been torn out. I asked the officers investigating the scene, and they had no idea what happened to it.
So it wasn't found in this room?
That's right. My theory is that the killer took it.
Interesting.
Which means there was probably something incriminating written on it.
Yeah.
If only there was some way of knowing what it was.
Miles, have you forgotten the oldest trick in
Yeah,
the book?
find a
Just find a
pencil.
pencil and you'll have that information in no time.
That's what I was thinking.
Edwards, do you have a pencil I might borrow?
Of course. Take this one.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all for now, Edwards.
Good luck with your investigation.
I swear I could have done the voiceover because I keep saying things that they keep saying. Calendar.
A classic trick. Let's see if it works.
It usually does. Oh, I need to do it. Alright, I'll just go everywhere because I don't know. What's something here? Ruby? Shockley? Whoever that might be. Something else?
Intriguing. We'll need to find out who this Ruby is.
And what about Shockley? Or is this the day he died? Again, click on it like this. This is what I mean. So this one isn't interesting, Shockley? Oh, it
Aha!
is.
McDonough met with this person the night of the murder. I'll bet 500 crowns it's a false name, but at least it's something.
That's the night of the murder, alright. So I guess I'm done now.
It seems the killer didn't want anyone to know about this meeting with McDonough, and possibly not with Ruby either. It seems the
Alright. What does that give us, though? Oh, I have a lot. Wait, oh, I get the documents for all the victims. I didn't even look at this. Or did I just get this? I don't know. So we have Hannibal Kirkland, who's probably, I think this is the first victim, second, third, fourth. He's 32, cause of death, single gunshot to the head. Let me check, I think they all have that. Yeah, it's the same cause of death. Ironworker at Thorbum Ironworks. Chumley? I finally know how to say it. Summary. Police found Kirkland in his home after his foreman reported Kirkland's absence from work. Apart from the word justice written in blood, nothing unusual was found at the crime scene. Well, that's not true. We found a flower. and no witnesses came forward. Investigation into Kirkland's personal life and habits revealed nothing of interest. Reggie, 47, he's a cabbie, found Willingham in his home after a missing persons report was filed by his employer. Also his employer, this one as well. Yeah, absent from work. Crime scene was inspected, but aside from the word justice written on the wall in blood, nothing unusual was found. No witnesses came forward, and investigation into his personal life and habits revealed nothing of interest. Ennis, he was a construction worker. After his employer... See, it's all employer. Why does nobody notice this? Contacted police. Crime scene showed signs of modus operandi of the so-called justice killer, but no other leads or clues were found. No witnesses came forward. Sometimes I'm reading faster than I'm able to speak and I trip over words. Investigation and questioning of Bowditch's co-workers and former lady friend proved fruitless. Former lady friend, what does that even mean? So lady friends, so they're not in a relationship and they're not friends anymore, or is it because he's dead? It's not possible to be friends with the dead person, I don't know. Burley. Lamplighter? In Lamplight City, that's convenient. Officer Douglas Parsons discovered cars in his home. Oh, that's his name. After a report of a gunshot was made by neighbor. But this is the only difference. This is by the neighbor, Ethel Williamson. Parsons surveyed the scene and found the word justice written in blood. Investigation into causes, personal life and habits produced no further clues or leads. Alright. I haven't read this as well. There's no doubt that the serial murderer known as the Justice Killer and the flower shop burglar are one and the same. It's time to track him down and bring him to justice. So find him. Well, yeah, duh. Investigate Percival McDonough's office at the House of Parliament. Did that. Speak with Mrs. McDonough. Find out the identity of Ruby. And what about the other person? This is the blank piece of paper I need to do something with. I have no suspects. Alright, but I think that's all I can do here, really.
No time to waste with further conversation right now.
Yeah, I thought maybe I could ask him about that Ruby, but I guess not. So what now? Do we have a new location? Oh, a lot! I thought we only had one. Oh, we get all the workers' locations, so I guess we didn't get the reports. We got them from Edwards, I guess. So let me think. We can go to his widow, or one of the victim's worker locations. Why not do this first? That makes more sense. Oh, she's sad.
What? Who are you?
Introduces
I'm
himself
Miles
like that.
Fordham, private investigator. Your butler just announced me.
Oh, of course. Forgive me. I was just, well, never mind. Please
Think
make
you're
yourself
lying.
comfortable, Mr. Fordham.
Thank you, Mrs. McDonough.
Don't be a liar.
Just a painting of some boring old aristocrat. Surely this one was called Lady Felicity Euphemia Beaversnatch the Simple. They look expensive, but I bet they're totally worthless. I feel sorry for the sucker who has to clean them. They look expensive.
I'm just gonna look at everything.
Lord Alfred Edward Shufflebottom the Wise comes to mind when looking at this one.
I don't know if it's something I need to do, but...
This one looks like a, lady...
Right, he's just speaking
They look
nonsense.
expensive, but I bet they look expensive.
Same.
I think I'll call this one...
Right, he's just making up names for the portraits. That's it. So let's speak with her.
I appreciate you seeing me, Mrs. McDonough. I know you must be going through a difficult time right now.
What exactly is it you want from me, Mr. Fordham? I already spoke to the police about my husband's murder.
Yeah, but they're losers.
I just have a few questions of my own.
Oh, very well.
I solve all their cases, so you better speak with me.
What can you tell me about your husband?
I'll tell you the same thing I told the police, Mr. Fordham. Percival was one of the hardest working members of Parliament. He took his job extremely seriously. The recent election caused him a terrible amount of consternation, as I'm sure it did most people. He took Atwood's loss rather hard.
Did you see much of him?
I beg your pardon?
Surely someone with such an important position in government could find themselves consumed by their work. Did he spend much time at home?
Guess not.
He made it a point to come home and have dinner with me every night, even if he had to return to the office afterwards.
And did that happen often?
At least 3 or 4 times in a week, yes. He'd stay in his office working late into the night.
So the killer must
As
have
I
known
said,
that.
he was very dedicated to his role.
Sounds to me like she's quite dedicated to hers, too.
What do you mean by that? Do you mean like she's acting to be a grieving widow? And also, if you're a widow, I understand you're sad and all, but do you need to dress like this?
Did your husband have any enemies?
He was a politician, Mr. Fordham. Half the city hated him.
Did he ever receive any kind of threats against his life?
None that I was ever made aware of.
Did you kill
I
him?
have no idea who could have killed him, let alone who could have gotten into his office to do it. He hadn't told me about any meetings or appointments this week either.
Was it his custom to inform you of his work affairs?
Oh, well, I've always taken an interest in my husband's work. He'd often mention initiatives he was working on or people he was meeting, that sort of thing. Nothing sensitive or confidential, you understand. Just conversation about his day.
Right, so he either didn't tell her or she's lying.
Can you think of any reason why your husband would have been murdered?
Not really. He was a vocal opponent of the construction of the Gascogne-Chumley Bridge, but I hardly think that would have been sufficient reason to drive someone to murder.
You never know.
Why is that?
Well, it's just a bridge, isn't it? There are plenty of other ways to get to Chumley.
I meant, why was he opposed to it?
Oh, because the amount of money required to build it is exorbitant. Public funds should be used on roads and buildings that are falling apart. What's the point of having something shiny and new if everything around it is in disrepair?
I don't know, but maybe someone rich would not agree with you.
Are you familiar with the art of cryptography, Mrs. McDonough?
What an odd question.
Is it?
It's just, I noticed several books on the subject in your husband's office.
Oh, well, yes. Percival was interested in cryptography and secret messages and the like.
So I have a
he
secret
would sometimes
message.
leave me coded notes when we first began courting many years ago.
What kind of notes?
Oh, now, Mr. Fordham, those were private. But Percival got a thrill out of knowing I was the only one who could read them.
So there's notice for her.
Sometimes he would write them using a special ink that would only appear when the paper was heated.
See, it's what I said.
I can't remember the last time he did that, though.
I have that, so I need to heat it up over a candle, maybe?
How are you feeling, Mrs. McDonough?
My husband of 42 years was shot in his office. How do you think I feel?
Tactful as always, Fordham. How do you do it?
It wasn't that
My
rude to me.
apologies. Perhaps that wasn't the most appropriate question. Is there anything I can do to help?
You can start by finding the monster who murdered Percival.
She's just kind of rude because there's nothing wrong with that question, is there?
Do you know anyone named Shackley?
No, I've never heard that name before. Why?
I saw your husband had a meeting scheduled with him shortly before his murder.
That can't be right. He didn't tell me about that. He always told me about his meetings.
It was written on his office calendar, clear as day.
As I said, I don't know who that person is. Why wouldn't Percival have told me about their meeting?
I don't
Why
know.
indeed?
And Ruby, you don't know her either?
Are you familiar with someone named Ruby?
I can't say I am. Who is it?
Just a name that's come up in my investigation.
Sounds like the name of a trollop. Or perhaps a dog.
Well, she isn't very friendly, is she?
Have you heard of the Justice Killer?
That was the name the police mentioned when they told me about Percival's murder. It's absolutely terrifying to think that one sick person could be capable of such evil. Why is he called the Justice Killer? What justice was done by murdering my husband?
I agree.
I'm afraid I can't answer that right now, Mrs. McDonough, but I intend to find out. Those are all the questions I have for now, Mrs. McDonough.
All right, Mr. Fordham.
Should I have asked Snelling about that before I spoke with her, maybe? And then he would have said something different? I don't know. But also, well, I wanted to say something and I forgot. I totally forgot, I don't remember. Speak with Mrs. McDonough, I'm not done. So maybe I do need to speak to Snelling and come back to her. And, oh, and this is how I need to heat it up, of course.
If this actually works, I'll eat my hat.
Don't burn it, please. Dearest Mary. Words cannot express the regret and sorrow I feel for how I acted last night. I swore to myself I would never harm you again after the last time, but I have failed us both. It is my deepest hope that you can forgive me and trust that I will never let this monster out again. Percival.
Well,
Is
I'll
she
be
named
damned.
Mary? Is it someone else?
Can we talk some more, Mrs. McDonough?
I suppose so, yes.
Is your first name Mary?
Do you know anything about this letter?
I'm afraid I don't have my spectacles. What is it?
The coroner found it in your husband's pocket. He gave it to me because he thought it was blank. But after you told me about your husband's propensity for writing secret messages, I decided to try exposing the paper to heat. Allow me to read it to you. Dearest Mary, words cannot express the regret and sorrow I feel for how I acted last night. I swore to myself I would never harm you again after the last time, but I have failed us both. It is my deepest hope that you can forgive me and trust that I will never allow this monster out again.
I see. May I have that letter, Mr. Fordham?
I'm afraid I have to keep it for now. It's evidence.
I suppose that, that does make sense.
Yeah, you would burn it. Abuse. Tell me.
Mrs. McDonough, did Percival mistreat or abuse you?
He wasn't a bad man, Mr. Fordham. I wouldn't have married him if he was.
So
It's
yes.
just the stress of his responsibilities would sometimes oppress him. I would try and offer comfort, soothe his nerves. But there were a few instances where he lost control of his passions.
Did he ever hit you?
I guess so.
He did.
How many times did this happen?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe 2 or 3? You don't exactly count these things.
Well, you
What a
should.
bastard. Maybe it serves him right for getting shot.
Thank you for your candor, Mrs. McDonough.
Can we please talk about something else?
I don't have anything else. Do I?
Those are all the questions I have for now, Mrs. McDonough.
All right, Mr. Fordham.
So she has a motive to kill him. Maybe wanted to end the abuse. So now I'm done. Alright, so that's all I needed to ask of her. So this updated. Percival McDonough would occasionally fly into rage and beat Mrs. McDonough about 2 or 3 times. Well, maybe more because she wasn't keeping count. So could have been a lot more. We have his letter. So that's interesting to know. So she has a motive to kill her husband. So maybe she hired someone to do it. We could go and speak with Snelling, but we don't really have anything for him. Or we could go to one of the locations. But where do I even want to go? Why not start with the first one? It was an iron worker. Ironworks. I don't know why, this just makes sense to me somehow.
Well, that doesn't look good. This place sure is big. I wonder if they actually make anything useful.
Foreman, who let us know that his man was
Excuse me,
missing.
sir. Are you in charge here?
Unfortunately. Who are you?
Unfortunately.
This area isn't open to the public.
I'm Miles Fordham, and I'm a private investigator looking into the murder of one of your workers.
A private investigator, eh? Then maybe you can help me out.
I'll do what I can, but I'll need to ask you some questions, Mr.
Mims. Sanford Mims. Go ahead, but make it snappy.
Well, I never do that. I always have a lot to ask.
What can you tell me about Hannibal Kirkland? A former employee here?
Listen, I've got a lot on my mind right now.
It's
I
important.
understand, but it's important to my
That's what I
investigation that you
said.
tell me what you know about him.
I'm sure it is, but as you can see, I've got a lot to deal with right now.
Well, he's no help. Maybe you can figure out a way to help him help us.
Like what? Iron mill?
What happened to your iron mill?
What's it look like? The damn thing went and got blown up.
Was it in disrepair?
Of course not. All my machinery is sound, checked and serviced regularly. This is the work of those goddamn Redites. I'm sure of it.
I agree. Probably.
What makes you certain the explosion was the Redites doing?
Take a look, boy. The whole mill got taken out. Even if this had been a mechanical failure, which it wasn't, the explosion would have been contained to a single part of the machine. This couldn't have been anything other than sabotage.
Have you had problems with the Redites before?
They've sent anonymous letters, but this is the first time they've actually carried out one of their threats.
Yeah, it does look like sabotage.
You're absolutely sure this was sabotage then?
Yes. How many times have I got to tell you that?
One more time, apparently.
Listen, you said you were an investigator, right? So find out who did this to my machine. If you do, I'll help you out with whatever else you wanted to ask me about.
Alrighty.
Looks like we haven't got much of a choice. He seems pretty upset about his machine.
I'll see what I can do.
So it isn't as straightforward as I thought it was. And
I'll be going now.
Be careful on your way out.
is that a threat? So how do I need to find that out? Oh, I can look at it or something.
Completely ruined. Whoever sabotaged this knew what they were doing.
Do we need to go to the police station and look at suspects or something? Honestly, I don't know. To employee area. Oh, I thought this was leaving, but it's not.
Hey, that area is for workers only.
Oh, whoops.
My apologies.
Do I need to dress up? That would be cool. But why do I have a hand here? Nothing happens.
Completely ruined.
Oh, let's just leave. So I guess this location we can't do anything with right now. Thank you for watching. Curious what happens next? Subscribe to my page so you don't miss anything.